You're listening to Living with Louie. Hello and welcome back to Living with Louie. I'm Larry Anderson, and I wanted to just kind of talk today about a, emotional fatigue. I know that for most of us that live with Lewy body, we understand that experience this phenomenon, if you will, of sundowning, or at the end of the day, is you start to get fatigued, the mental fog and the cognitive issues that are associated with that tend to get worse as we get tired in the evenings. And I will have to say that in the last couple of weeks, we lost my mother-in-law, and we lost also a brother-in-law, and never really um, gave it much thought that you actually can be put into that kind of sundown scenario, if you will, or an increased level in the mental fatigue from emotional stress and things that are happening to you that, as I certainly, you've heard me talk about how much I appreciate my wife and how much she does to take care of me and to make sure that that things are as good as possible for me. And then for her to lose her mother and her brother-in-law, um, and watching her have to navigate that and not be able to help or feel like I can't help, that's tiring on you mentally, and then you end up with an increased level of what I call fog and or muddiness, that that mental state that almost feels like you're present but you're not present. That's a difficult thing for me to describe to people, and I know that I've heard other people refer to it as fog, and it doesn't get substantially worse when I'm fatigued. And now I find out that emotional fatigue, which I would have probably not thought of, but the emotional fatigue can have just as much of an effect on you as physical fatigue can in trying to navigate um, through through emotional turmoil or times of emotional turmoil. I don't know that I'm necessarily doing an effective job of maybe describing what's going on, but it's the one thing that I can tell you is that the it's it's tiring, I guess, to have to use or spend emotional energy. And I guess what happens is we spend emotional energy similar to our physical energy, and is that the bank only has so much in it, and then when you draw it down, you've got to figure out a way to refuel and get some rest. And I never really thought much about um, uh, emotional incidents in my life or emotional things that happen. I just never really, I guess, realized what an effect it can have on you um, when you have dementia. Um, and I'm not saying that it only happens to people with dementia, but I can only tell you that I live with Lewy body, and I try to share with folks the things that I kind of go through, and that kind of surprised me. It didn't really surprise my therapy team. They actually were kind of expecting it to happen because they know they've had enough experience working with folks that they knew that I was going to have a little bit of a downward turn, and that's hence why we've been a little while without actually publishing an episode here. Is that we've been dealing with that, and we're dealing with the aftermath, and it just reminds me again of the fact that um, there there are similarities to grieving the loss of people and grieving the loss of a lot of your independence and the things that Louis tends to steal from us. And it's it's just to me, I guess the thing that never ceases to amaze me uh, is the resiliency of the human brain, the fact that we can reprogram it to do all kinds of things, but yet we can't seem to figure out how to get it to turn things off sometimes when we need them turned off. But the the fog that I experienced certainly got worse with being emotionally tired, and as it does when I get physically tired. So the only thing that I can say is that the mental fatigue and the absence or whatever, I'm having a hard time with trying to describe what it is that I go through. But I think that a lot of you understand maybe what I'm trying to say. But the emotional draining also is another source of your energy, I guess, being zapped out of you, and the fatigue is is there, and so when the fatigue sets in, so does the fog, and I have noticed for myself anyway. I've noticed that these incidents of this foggy feeling, this muddy feeling, that has they have been increasing, and I know that that is probably this Lewy body progressing. But I never really gave it a whole lot of thought about emotional fatigue until I told this until I guess I've heard the terms used before, but I guess never really put any meaning to them until I well, here recently when I experienced this increase in fogginess, and it seemed to be coinciding with the emotional um, pressure that I think we feel like we were under, and it's getting better. As you know, I talked about this where um, the the fog that I know that I experienced, I know others do as well. The One of the things that I sat back and I realized that on Wednesday this past week, I I I had realized that I had been out of work and home now for 4 years. It doesn't seem possible, but that's where we are. And it's um, it's a difficult thought, and because I don't know, this living with Louis is. I think I talked about it in my last episode. It's an unchosen path. It's nothing anybody ever chose, and it's day at a time, day by day. But I try my best to keep a positive outlook and stay as active as I can, um, physically, and then I try to exercise my brain, um, certainly as much as I can. The it's the only way I know of to kind of push back against this and slow it down. But for those of you that are going through emotional um, times as well, know that that is just as fatiguing as becoming physically fatigued, and just as much need to have to do, as Mike has always said, rest and reset. And so that's something that couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, there's plenty of times when I just need to take a break uh, and turn off the world around me and kind of just let my brain rest. It's sometimes there's a lot of turmoil going on up there, but sometimes it just needs to take a little break. And so um, make sure that you're taking time to get the rest that you need. The rest and reset is a very important piece to being able to launch any type of um, a battle against these um, alphas and nuclein proteins that are invading our brain. And so that's kind of what I wanted to kind of hit on this week was the emotional fatigue and that it can have the same type of ramifications as the physical fatigue. And I just wanted to kind of hit on that because I really had given it much thought, but I had no choice but to face it. And so it kind of has been a little bit of a learning experience for me as we continue down this journey. I think we learn, hopefully, a little bit all the time. So as I kind of learn different things and experience different things, I like to share them with you folks so that if you're experiencing them, that you'll know too that, hey, someone else out there is experiencing the same thing. So that's kind of all I wanted to kind of hit on this week. It's a little bit of a shorter show um, and than usual, but I felt like this piece needed to be talked about, and I needed to share. That's really what I'm all about: is trying to share these experiences so that um, other people can kind of understand what goes on as we live this life with Lewy body dementia and go down this road.
Please remember, folks, that we are 100% voluntarily funded by our listeners. So please go to the link and at the bottom of your favorite podcast provider, and you'll find a link there that says support the show, or you can find us on GoFundMe under Living with Louie podcast, and every dollar counts, and every dollar helps. So please take a minute and go in and support the show, we certainly would appreciate it. The only thing we try to do is cover our operating costs and equipment maintenance costs. So we thank you and have a great day.
We'd like to thank you for joining us for this edition of Living with Louie.